Hi folks, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin McGough and I'm a career educator and filmmaker living in New York. And today we're going to talk about how to answer one of the most difficult job interview questions ever. What is your greatest weakness? Okay, so first things first, let's talk about why they're asking this weird question. They're not actually asking, what is your greatest weakness? Tell me what your greatest weakness is. What they're trying to do is gauge your self-awareness and how you speak critically of yourself. How are you working to improve yourself? Are you aware of your flaws? Can you speak critically of yourself? Can you take feedback? And they're also wondering if you might reveal a red flag about yourself. These open-ended questions can be extremely difficult to answer and even feel like a trick. And I'm not gonna lie, this question kind of is a trick question. Okay, so first let's talk about all of the wrong ways to answer this question and things that you should absolutely avoid. The first thing is saying, I can't really think of anything. You definitely want to be prepared for this extremely common job interview question. And saying I don't know is just kind of a bad look for you. If you do get caught off guard or you do go blank, that's totally fine. You can just say, can I have a moment to think about it? I just went blank for some reason. Or you can ask to circle back to the question. But the most important thing is that you do want to be prepared for this extremely common and expected interview question. Another thing that you should not say is something like, I'm like late to everything. All my friends make fun of me. You never want to say something that's going to impact your ability to do the job well. And obviously things like being on time are extremely important for any employer. Another thing that you don't want to say, I'm just kind of a sarcastic person. It's just who I am. You don't want to glorify the weakness. You only want to talk about things that you're working to improve and change about yourself. And another cliche that you definitely want to avoid, I would have to say that I'm a perfectionist. This answer is surely going to get you some eye rolls from the recruiter. Being a perfectionist is kind of a cop-out weakness. It's like that scene in The Office where Michael Scott's like,
what do you think your greatest strengths as a manager?
Why don't I tell you what my greatest weaknesses are? I work too hard, I care too much, and sometimes I can be too invested in my job.
Okay.
Also, you don't want to pick something that's a character flaw, like I'm a perfectionist. Instead, you can rephrase that in a different way, like saying that you get too attached to granular details and need to remember to zoom out. So I know now you might be thinking, okay, Erin, those are all the wrong things. Now, what do I say? Tell me what to say. The trick is with answering this question is that it depends on your role. So you want to pick a weakness that's true and authentic and that you can speak towards, but it doesn't really impact your ability to do the job. You know what I mean? For example, if you're applying to work in EMS, you wouldn't want to say that your weakness is working well under pressure. You might want to say that you're extremely self-critical and tend to be very, very hard on yourself when things go wrong on calls, even if they were outside of your control. If you're applying to become a therapist, you wouldn't want to say that your weakness is listening. Rather, you might want to say that your weakness is delegation. You tend to do everything yourself and overload yourself when you can pass things off to other people. If you're applying to work in customer service, you would not want to say that your weakness is patience. Rather, you could say that your weakness is public speaking. You're great at talking one-on-one, but you're still working on building your confidence when speaking in front of a large crowd. Okay, now I'm going to let you in on my secret formula for knocking this question out of the park every single time. I call it the 10-90 rule. The trick is to spend 10% of the answer describing the weakness, and then 90% of the answer talking about how you're addressing it. So you wouldn't want to say things like, I'm really bad at collaboration. I'm really disorganized. I always lose track of time. Instead, you want to phrase it like something that you're actively working to improve. For example, one thing that I'm currently working to improve are my delegation skills. I tend to think it'll just be easier to do everything myself, but I know that delegation is a skill that I need to master in order to advance into more senior roles in my career. So I'm currently challenging myself to delegate at least one task a week, no matter how big or small. Or another example, right now I'm challenging myself to become a better listener. I notice that I tend to get in my own head when others are speaking, and that really impacts my ability to be a good coworker and colleague. But I'm currently reading a book on how to improve and start implementing active listening skills, and it is really helping. Another example, I'm currently working to improve my independence. I tend to be a very collaborative worker, and I really welcome other people's opinions. But as I advance in my career, I'm learning that I need to be more independent and confident in my own decisions and abilities. So right now I have a little sticky note next to my computer that reminds me to first try to be confident in myself before seeking help from others. Another example, we have so many examples. Oh man, something I'm embarrassed to admit is that I'm bad with names. I don't know what happens. I can remember people's faces, what they were wearing, what we were talking about, but for some reason names just slip away from me. So I'm currently implementing a technique that I learned on a podcast that's helping me store learn names in a better and more effective way, and I can already tell it's really helping. And one more, something that I'm currently working on is my recall. I'm a very visual person, and for some reason I have a really hard time recalling specific details right off the top of my head, and I'm very jealous of people that can do that. So you'll oftentimes see me with a little notepad writing things down, and it might look weird, but it's what works for me. The trick is to just be self-aware, maybe a little bit self-deprecating, but mainly talk about how you're actively taking steps to make yourself better. Here are some other ideas for acceptable weaknesses for your inspiration. Again, please use common sense before picking an answer. Don't pick something that's going to make them raise their eyebrows. Pick something that will make them think, oh, that's okay, we're all human. I'm glad to know that you're working on it. So here's some inspo. Delegation, listening, technical skills, socializing, confidence, public speaking, time management, self-critical, giving feedback, impatience, organization, math, spelling, talkative, polished, blunt, humor, names, recall, stubborn, and independence. So pick one thing that you feel is appropriate for your industry, figure out how to articulate how you are working to improve this aspect of yourself, script it out, memorize it, and you'll be good to go. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. You can also sign up for my newsletter, follow me on Instagram and TikTok for daily career and life advice. Remember, you got this, and I'll see you next time.